Hey guys, what up? Sit down, relax, and welcome back.
Way back.
This is another episode, the fourth episode of Fishing for Fun, where I bring four more expressions or short phrases for us to play.
Can you remember the ones from the previous video? Here they are. Buy a hair, it goes without saying, hold your horses, and right off the bat. Now, let's go to the new ones. First is out of the blue. Out of the blue. Out of the blue. Out of the blue. Or out of nowhere. Out of the blue or out of nowhere. If something happens out of the blue, it happens suddenly, unexpectedly. Okay? For example, one day, out of the blue, he was fired from his job. Man, that was just out of nowhere. One day, out of the blue, he was fired from his job. Man, that was just out of nowhere.
Next, on the fly. On the fly. On the fly. On the fly. It is in the middle of a process. In the middle of a process. When you do something on the fly, you do something not planned while you're working on something else. Okay? For example, how do marathon runners drink water? They drink water on the fly. They don't stop to sit down and rest a little bit. So we can say, as they run, they drink water on the fly.
Next, there's no such thing as whatever. There's no such thing as such and such. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. You say that when you want to express disbelief in something. You say, there's no such thing as whatever, such and such. For example, there's no such thing as a vampire. There's no such thing as a perfect family. Okay? Next, wrap one's head around. Wrap one's head around. Wrap my head around. Wrap my head around. Wrap your head around. Wrap your head around. Wrap her head around. Wrap her head around. When you try to wrap your head around something, you try to understand it. If you try to figure out something, you try to wrap your head around something. Okay? For example, he wants to buy an expensive car, and I just can't wrap my head around it. He wants to buy an expensive car. The car is very expensive, and I just can't wrap my head around it. Bonus! 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 One more! One more! And it is long story short. Long story short. Long story short. Long story short. You say that when you want to reduce or simplify a story that is too long to be told in its entirety. For example, one day I started playing football, and long story short, today I am here in the World Cup with the national team. Good, isn't it?
Now, turn off the subs and you know what to do. Fish the words, pal!
and winning a seat in the cello section of the local symphony. Around the same time, I started volunteering with my local community association, and out of the blue, I even took a film course and made my first short film. In all of these cases, it was as
to go out and sort of find them, and then when they found one, they would radio to the boat and tell us where it was, and we'd position ourselves way in front of it, and I would slip into the water and just sort of wait there, snorkeling for this animal that materialized out of the blue, and it was like swimming next.
Including me. The last 10 years, I was in charge of logistics and truck drivers. Then out of nowhere, my boss comes to me and says, hey, we want you to save this clamshell for the company and lead the effort to...
Today, you need to be able to differentiate and do it on the fly. The three other things are things that we can't teach, and that is a love for kids. The teachers really cared about kids. They cared about their welfare, cared about their learning. That's a key characteristic. A third thing...
And there's no specific end date for the trial. Rather, the WHO is planning to make adjustments on the fly, discontinuing drugs that don't work, and maybe even adding more. Hopefully, we will start to hear results fairly soon. And even if these treatments don't work...
This button over the course of months. Now, why would we spend so much time on something so small? It's because when you're designing at scale, there's no such thing as a small detail. This innocent little button is seen on...
It raises this interesting point, which is we live in a world in which we are players in infinite games. There's no such thing as winning marriage. Nobody in the marriage is declared the winner. And there's no winning in friendship, and there's no winning global politics, and there's definitely no such thing as winning business, right? But when we listen to the language of too many leaders, they talk about being number one, being the best.
Fitting any of the smaller, medium-sized based minis into the stair slot. The landings are where things get really interesting, and I've been spending some time trying to really wrap my head around them. Each landing comes in 3 pieces that allow you to adjust their...
How friendship matures and blossoms into community, and how community becomes family. And when you try to wrap your head around all of those things, the connectivity, the idea that silence...
If you're that sort of person, then you might want to upgrade the SSD. But again, if you're that sort of person, you probably don't want one of these as your daily driver because you're probably doing more pro workflowy type things. But long story short, the configuration I would recommend is just the cheapest one. There is a case to be made for upgrade.
It's about how Hamlet's father had been killed. And anyway, so long story short is that he, in the production, he sees in his mind.
Well, that's it. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids and adults. Keep listening, keep practicing, stick around, see you soon. Cheers, bye-bye. There's no such thing as a monster in the dark.